I had always prided myself on maintaining a harmonious household. My husband and I had built a comfortable life together in Karachi, and our home was our sanctuary. Part of that comfort was ensured by our diligent security guard, Assad, who had been with us for over a year. He was a quiet man in his late 30s, always punctual and respectful. Our interactions were limited to polite greetings and occasional instructions regarding his duties. One particularly hot afternoon, I returned home earlier than usual from a friend's gathering. The house was unusually quiet, with the faint hum of the air conditioner being the only sound. As I made my way to the kitchen to get a glass of water, I noticed the door to the storage room slightly ajar. Curiosity piqued, I approached silently, not wanting to startle anyone. Peering through the gap, I saw Assad standing with his back to me, holding what appeared to be a small, ornate box. It was the jewelry box my mother had gifted me on my wedding day, a cherished heirloom that I kept in my bedroom. My heart raced as I watched him open it, revealing its contents, several gold bangles and a delicate necklace. He handled the pieces with an unsettling familiarity, examining each one closely. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. This was a man we trusted, someone who had access to our home and lives. I wanted to burst into the room and confront him, but a paralyzing fear held me back. What if he reacted violently? What if there was more to this than I understood? I stepped back quietly, retreating to the living room to collect my thoughts. Sitting on the couch, I tried to calm my racing mind. Confronting Assad directly seemed risky, and the thought of involving the police felt drastic without concrete evidence. Moreover, I was gripped by the fear of how my husband would react. He had always been protective, and I worried this incident might push him to make hasty decisions that could disrupt our lives. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I avoided Assad, staying confined to my room until my husband returned home. At dinner, I struggled to maintain a facade of normalcy, engaging in small talk while my mind replayed the afternoon's events. I decided to keep the incident to myself for the time being, hoping to find a solution that wouldn't upend our household. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, grappling with a whirlwind of emotions: anger, fear, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. The home I had always felt safe in now seemed tainted, and I was at a loss for how to restore that sense of security. In the days that followed, I became hyper-aware of Assad's presence. Every movement, every glance seemed suspicious. I found myself avoiding areas of the house where he might be, not out of fear for my safety, but because I couldn't bear to face him knowing what I had witnessed. The weight of the secret gnawed at me, affecting my mood and interactions with my husband. I considered various options: installing security cameras, speaking to Assad privately, or even letting him go without explanation. Each choice had its own set of complications and potential repercussions. The cultural context of Karachi society also played a role in my hesitation. Accusing someone without irrefutable evidence could lead to gossip and damage reputations, including our own. As days turned into weeks, the burden of my silence became increasingly heavy. I knew I couldn't continue living in this state of anxiety and distrust. A decision had to be made, one that would address the situation without causing unnecessary harm. The challenge was finding the courage to take that step, to confront the issue head-on and reclaim the peace of mind that had been stolen from me. Days turned into weeks, and the weight of my secret became increasingly unbearable. The initial shock had subsided, but in its place lingered a persistent anxiety that gnawed at me daily. I found myself constantly replaying the incident in my mind, questioning my decision to remain silent. The fear of potential repercussions if the truth surfaced haunted me, yet the prospect of confessing seemed equally daunting. My relationship with my husband began to suffer. The once effortless conversations now felt strained, punctuated by awkward silences. I avoided his gaze, fearful that he might somehow discern the turmoil brewing within me. Our evenings, previously filled with shared stories and laughter, became subdued. I could sense his growing concern, Yet I couldn't bring myself to divulge the truth. The secret also took a toll on my health. Sleep became elusive, with restless nights spent tossing and turning. My appetite waned, and I often felt a tightness in my chest, a physical manifestation of the stress I was under. I became irritable, snapping at trivial matters, and found it challenging to focus on daily tasks. The constant mental and emotional strain was overwhelming, affecting my overall well-being. I realized I needed to confide in someone, to unburden myself from the secrecy that was slowly consuming me. After much contemplation, I reached out to my childhood friend Aisha. We met at a secluded cafe, away from prying eyes and familiar faces. As I recounted the incident, tears welled up and my voice quivered. Aisha listened intently, her expression a mix of shock and empathy. "You can't carry this alone," she said gently, reaching across the table to hold my hand. "But you must consider the consequences of revealing it. Think about your safety and the potential fallout." Her words resonated deeply. In Karachi, accusations against domestic staff can lead to unpredictable outcomes. There have been instances where such allegations resulted in threats or even violence. Moreover, societal norms often place the burden of proof on the accuser, leading to potential character assassination and social ostracism. Aisha's counsel provided some solace, but the dilemma remained. Revealing the truth could jeopardize our safety and social standing, yet remaining silent felt like a betrayal of my own principles. The cultural context added layers of complexity to an already intricate situation. In the following days, I became more vigilant, observing Assad's behavior for any signs of misconduct. To my dismay, I noticed subtle changes, a lingering gaze, a smirk that hadn't been there before. It was as if he sensed my vulnerability, and it emboldened him. The atmosphere at home grew increasingly tense, with an unspoken undercurrent of unease permeating every interaction. I contemplated installing security cameras as a precautionary measure, but the idea of living under constant surveillance felt oppressive. Moreover, if discovered, it could escalate the situation, potentially provoking Assad. Each potential solution seemed fraught with risks, leaving me paralyzed with indecision. The internal conflict began to erode my sense of self. I questioned my judgment, my values, and my ability to protect my home. The secret had become a chasm between who I was and who I had become, a person riddled with fear and uncertainty. In an attempt to regain some semblance of normalcy, I immersed myself in community activities, hoping to distract my troubled mind. Yet, even amidst social gatherings, I felt isolated, the weight of my secret creating an invisible barrier between me and others. I longed for the days when life was simpler, untainted by deceit and suspicion. As time passed, the realization dawned that inaction was no longer sustainable. The secret was a festering wound, and ignoring it would only lead to further infection. I needed to confront the situation, not just for my own sanity, but to restore the sanctity of our home. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with potential peril, but I knew that reclaiming my peace of mind required courage and decisive action. As time passed, the weight of my secret became an unbearable burden, affecting every facet of my life. The constant preoccupation with the incident led to feelings of isolation and anxiety, as I distanced myself from those around me. My relationship with my husband deteriorated further. The emotional distance between us grew, as my inability to share the truth created a barrier that neither of us could breach. Our once warm and open communication became strained, filled with unspoken words and lingering doubts. I felt trapped in a cycle of deception, unable to reconcile my actions with the person I believed myself to be. The cultural context of Karachi added layers of complexity to my predicament. In our society, accusations against domestic staff are fraught with challenges. Those who speak out about misconduct often face skepticism and social ostracism, making it difficult for victims to come forward. This reality left me feeling powerless, as I grappled with the potential consequences of revealing the truth. In my search for guidance, I sought out stories of others who had faced similar dilemmas. The #MeToo movement in Pakistan had brought to light numerous accounts of individuals speaking out against misconduct, challenging societal norms and demanding justice. These stories inspired me, yet I remained acutely aware of the potential backlash and personal risks involved in exposing such truths. The internal conflict took a toll on my health. I experienced elevated levels of stress, which manifested in physical symptoms such as increased heart rate and difficulty sleeping. The psychological strain of keeping the secret was affecting my overall well-being, making it clear that I could not continue down this path indefinitely. In an attempt to regain some semblance of control, I considered various options. I thought about confronting Assad directly, but the fear of potential repercussions held me back. I also contemplated involving external authorities, yet the lack of concrete evidence and the potential for social stigma made this option equally daunting. Ultimately, I realized that I could not navigate this situation alone. The burden of the secret was too heavy to bear in isolation, and the potential consequences too significant to face without support. I needed to find a way to address the issue that aligned with my values and preserved the integrity of my household. This realization marked a turning point. I began to explore avenues for resolution that balanced the need for justice with the imperative of personal and familial safety. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but I knew that taking action was the only way to reclaim my peace of mind and restore harmony to my life. Determined to address the situation, I decided to confront Assad directly. I approached him privately and expressed my concerns about his behavior, making it clear that such actions were unacceptable and would not be tolerated. Assad seemed taken aback, but he listened quietly, nodding in acknowledgement. After our conversation, I noticed a change in Assad's demeanor. He became more reserved and focused solely on his duties, avoiding unnecessary interactions. The atmosphere at home gradually improved, and I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had taken action to protect my household. My relationship with my husband also began to mend, as the burden of the secret had been lifted, allowing us to reconnect and communicate openly once again. This experience taught me the importance of addressing misconduct promptly and assertively, even when faced with cultural and societal challenges. By confronting the issue directly, I was able to restore harmony in my home and regain my peace of mind. It reinforced my belief in standing up for one's values and the necessity of creating a safe and respectful environment for everyone.